The best advice I can give is to not get married when you fall in love. Does that sound crazy? It might. I've been married a little bit over 5 years now, but I've actually been with my partner for 10 years before that. So I've known him for over 15 years at this point. And I vividly remember falling in love. It was incredible. You know exactly what you feel when you have the butterflies and you just cannot stand to be away from this person. But one thing that I learned as I grew and evolved and as our relationship matured is that falling in love, it's kind of involuntary. Like, it just happens and you can't quite control it. It's literally like a drug. Like, there is an actual chemical reaction that's happening in your brain where it's creating dopamine. So you get this effect as if like you're high. And that's literally what falling in love is. You know, sometimes it's right, sometimes it isn't, but regardless, you still have that same feeling. And one of my favorite quotes from your girl Mariah the Scientist, some vibes you can't deny. When should you get married? It's probably after you've fallen in love, after you've hit the ground and reality starts to check in. It's after the excitement is gone, and I'm talking about the initial excitement because your relationship should still be exciting, but it's a different kind of excitement, and I'll get to that in a minute. Wait till you've gotten comfortable. And there are a lot of ways that people misconstrue this comfort of a relationship. I think a lot of people do this thing where they question the emotional state that they're in after that initial phase of love and like being in love and falling in love has dissipated a little bit. They confuse it with, am I not in love? Did I ever love this person at all? You probably did. It's just that you're in a different phase of love. It's the comfort phase. And it's really different because what happened when you were falling in love is that your brain was producing dopamine, which has this really exciting, invigorating effect on your body. Now, the one thing that your body can't do is sustain that over a long period of time. So this is why eventually you start to have a different level of emotion. So it's literally just your body adjusting the dopamine effect to normalize you. So I think it's only at that point that you can actually choose love. Now, this is where staying in love actually happens. It is intentional. It is a deliberate choice where you choose to be with that person. And I think that there's one aspect that actually complicates this because you can't actually choose love before you've chosen yourself. Now, what I mean by this is that you have to be a completely fulfilled, whole, happy person on your own. You don't have to smile every day. But what I mean is that you need to make sure that you have found what makes you happy and what satisfies you. There's a really good phrase that is, you can't pour from an empty cup. And essentially what that means is that until you have discovered who you are and you feel fulfilled and you know what you need as an individual to thrive in your own life, it's only then that you can actually give into others, because otherwise you will become depleted very quickly and you'll also never actually know what it is that makes you happy. So this self-realization is something that actually needs to happen before you find yourself in that relationship, because what can happen is you might think that person is making you happy, but all they're actually doing is distracting you. And that can only last for so long. So until you are completely satisfied and fulfilled internally, nobody else can make you happy. That's just in general in life. People can add to your happiness, and that's exactly what they should do in a loving relationship. They should be additive to your experience. They should bring positivity. They should bring joy. But that's not going to be what makes you happy. That's going to add to the happiness that you have inside of you already. Love is about making a choice, choosing love, like waking up every day and saying, I'm going to be with this person. You're going to go through trials and tribulations. You're going to have differences of opinion. You're going to have times where you might not like each other a lot. But really what it comes down to is choosing to be humble, choosing empathy and compassion, choosing to love and not fight. I think that's really important. I think for me especially, I know how petty I can be at times. And sometimes you have to take a step back and say, is this really worth us arguing or fighting over? Or is it something that we can get through? I think it's about communication and choosing to be open and honest with the person that you're with. And if you're going through something, talking to them. And it's also important to have those moments of being by yourself when you are with a partner, because you want to continue to explore those deeper layers, because as you grow and evolve, those might also change over time, and you want to be in tune with yourself and understand what you need. And it requires a constant self-reflection and constantly reevaluating your own needs. A lot of people get confused about like, oh, we're growing apart, and no, it's everyone's growing. You're always going to grow. That is part of life. It's the choice that you make to be deliberate about making sure that you can grow together. And I don't think that there's really a way to grow apart unless, of course, you're choosing selfishness, which means choosing to do just what makes you happy and disregarding the needs of your partner. And that's not love. That's not choosing love. That's choosing yourself. And I don't know, sometimes maybe there's nothing wrong with that, but just in the grand scheme of things, if you're looking for love, if you're looking for a partner, if you're looking for lifelong companionship, it is very deliberate. And I think a lot of people don't understand how much willpower that takes and how much commitment and dedication that takes, but it's a lifelong process. You're constantly going to be evolving as a person individually and as a couple, because the dynamics of your relationship will change over time as well. So whether that's, going from being in a relationship, maybe you get married, like that's a whole different stage of life. It's a whole different thing. Your finances combine. Some things might seem more transactional. It is putting on paper that you're legally bound to this person. It's a different life. Maybe you move in together. That is completely different. That's probably where you're going to reach that comfort stage and understand who the person is really. Maybe you have kids. Maybe you decide kids aren't for you. Maybe you have issues having kids. Maybe a partner gets ill. There are so many different stages of life, and I think through each one, you have to adjust how you're operating independently and with that person, because the whole objective is, in my opinion, to stay married and to stay with this person. So if that is your goal, you're going to have to work on it every single day. And it can be exhausting and draining sometimes where you're not kind of on the same vibration or the same wavelength. But over time, if you're both committed to working towards that same end goal, you will meet in the middle again, and it'll be so much easier. You just both have to be committed to the process. I don't want to sound like after the honeymoon stage, like it's all doom and gloom. It's absolutely not. It's exciting still, but it's a different kind of excitement where you have to create that excitement. You have to be intentional about doing things that excite both of you. You have to, like they say, like keep the passion or keep the spice alive, like make it fun. Like you still have to put in effort and put in work. Just because you're married doesn't mean that like, okay, it's all over now, like the fun stops here. That's not how this works. It takes continuous effort. It takes work. And I think a lot of people give up very easily, or maybe they go into it not understanding the level of commitment or the amount of work that it actually takes to keep a relationship intact. It's like friendships. I hear a lot of people these days who talk about how they, no new friends, or they don't have friends, or they don't have people that they talk to anymore. Relationships take work. All relationships take work and effort. It's a constant evolution of who that person is and who you are and who you're both becoming, and trying to find those commonalities so that you can build upon those and strengthen those. But I think that if you both have the right intentions of being there for each other and for making sure that you make this work, you're going to figure out a way to make it work.